What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my full card breakdown and prediction video for Dana White's Contender Series week number 5. Looking forward to getting right back after it. Week number 5 here. The season's been really fun. I think we've had some fun finishes, some fun fights. Last week was incredibly fun. We had a ton of upsets, including like one of the biggest upsets I've ever seen, and that's why I love Dana White's Contender Series. It's the unpredictability, it's the unknown. Like a lot of these fighters, we don't have a ton of tape on them, we don't have a ton of information, so I like to research these fights to the best of my ability, and yeah, fights on a Tuesday night, you can't go wrong with that, and I think this card is going to be very fun. I think we're going to get some fun finishes, some fun fights as well, so looking forward to it. Before we break all of it down, if you guys could do me a couple favors, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment. All three of those things go a very long way. This video is brought to you by Prize Picks. If you guys are new to Prize Picks and want to check it out, use code DFSBTN and you'll get a $50 free instantly when you place your first $5 lineup. And yes, they do have Dana White's Contender Series Prize Picks as well. So check it out. Use code DFSBTN. You'll get $50 instantly when you place your first $5 lineup there. And other than that, be on the lookout for UFC Noche, UFC 306 content. Have pretty much all the fights taped. Going to be getting out content there, sometime Tuesday. And then also, if you guys are on the website, dfsbythenumbers.com, be on the lookout for the fighter notes, the betting breakdown video, and the best bet article. That'll all be out Tuesday afternoonish there. So, with all that out of the way, I say we get right into it. We're going to start with the first fight on the card. It is a flyweight fight, and it is Nicolle Caliari going against Corinne Laframboise. We'll start with Caliari. She is training out of Taiga, Brazil. She's 27 years old, 5'3" with a 62-inch reach, 7-2 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. So both these ladies have had very solid competition. So Caliari was submitted by Kay Hansen back in 2019. Kay Hansen, former UFC fighter, currently an OnlyFans artist, I guess. And then she lost a decision to Siri Kondo back in 2016, like 8 years ago. Caliari has a 100% finish rate, which is very impressive, 71% by knockout, and 29% by submission for a 100% finish rate overall. Some notes I have here on Caliari. So, like I said, she's very dangerous. She has a 100% finish rate, which is obviously very impressive for a female flyweight. The big thing here with Caliari, and like I said at the beginning of the video, like there's a couple fighters where there's just not a ton of footage available on them, and this is kind of one of the cases here. There isn't a ton of recent footage available on her, sadly. Like I was able to watch a couple fights, but I think the most recent fight might have been like the Kay Hansen fight, which was back in 2019. So, it's tough because she's only 27 years old, and I think we have to expect her to make improvements, but we just haven't seen those improvements yet. So that's kind of annoying. Wasn't able to find a ton of her, but what I was able to find, her striking looks pretty solid. She's aggressive. She'll throw in combination, and she has some solid power for the division. If she can keep the fight standing, she looks pretty good for sure. The volume and aggressiveness, I think, is going to go a long way for her. But yeah, there's some serious unknowns to me. Like I said, the last fight I was able to watch, she was 22 years old. 22 years old, and it's like I'm watching a fight, back when she was like 20 years old, and her striking looked really good back then, even at 20 years old. It's just, I'm not sure what to really expect from Caliari. But you have to imagine she's made improvements. She's going to be the much younger fighter in this match. If she's going to be younger by 8 years, I think that's important as well. The big thing with Caliari, though, is she can be taken down and lose minutes on bottom. She's also been submitted, but it was against Kay Hansen, who Kay Hansen is, a legit, grappler. So I don't want to, hold that against her too much. And again, it was a very long time ago. The ground game seems to be the worry for me and the issue for me. But Kay Hansen and Kondo fights where she was taken down, she was, pretty much dominated in both those matchups on the mat. Those fights were a long time ago. So, take that as you will. As far as Corinne Laframboise, she is training out of Brazilian top team Canada. She's 35 years old, 5'5" with a 64-inch reach, 8-4 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Notable wins or losses for Corinne. She lost to Manon Fiorot by knockout back in 2020. No shame in that whatsoever. And then she's also submitted by Jamie Lynn Horth, also current UFC fighter, and that was back in 2019. So both these ladies have lost to some very respectable, level of competition. So Corinne, she has a 75% finish rate, very good finisher in her own right. 25% of those come by knockout, 50% of those come by submission. Some notes I have on Corinne, she comes forward and she's very hittable. She will swing hard, but she does misses a lot. She really loads up on her punches. She likes to eat punches with her face, but she does seem pretty tough. And I would imagine in this fight, she would probably be looking to get takedowns here. I think that would be, the path to take here. But yeah, the forward pressure is solid. She tries to close the distance, but she does get hit like a lot more than I really like to see. She can get taken down in her own right, and she can accept bottom position and lose minutes off her back, but I'm not entirely sure that's going to be a problem here. Maybe it is. Maybe I'll be surprised and Caliari comes out here and does wrestle, but I'm kind of expecting Caliari to kind of keep it on the feet. But yeah, Corinne will go for takedowns herself. She seems to have a pretty good ground game. She's won half her wins by submission. Her ground and pound looks solid as well. She's finished many of her opponents on the mat, and I think the game plan for this fight, like I said, is going to be get this fight down to the mat, because that's something that Caliari has shown to struggle with in the past. So yeah, final thoughts on this matchup. I think it's a very tough fight to call. This is one that I really struggled with. It's about a pick'em here at the moment, minus 110 each way. I think it's a tough fight to call. Corinne, she has a style and a path to exploit what Caliari has kind of showed, an issue with in the past, but, the past is the past. If Caliari can stuff some takedowns here, I think she's going to look like a big favorite on the feet, but that's the problem. We really don't know if she has improved both the takedown defense and the ground game. I think you've got to assume she has. It's been 5-6 years in some of these fights where she's getting taken down and dominated, and she's now 27 years old at this point. So I'm hoping she's made improvements, and if she has improved that takedown defense, I think she's going to do the much better work on the feet. I was really impressed with the striking I saw of Caliari, and I just think that Corinne is way too hittable for my liking. So I'm going to go with who I think is going to be the better striker, and it could be like a scenario where Caliari is landing some big shots, having some big moments. Maybe she does get taken down, but it could be like a damage over control type situation as well. So I'm going to take a shot here on Caliari to win the fight. I'm going to take her to win this fight by decision, but again, very tough fight to call in my opinion. Moving on to the next fight, it is Otar Tanzilov going against Josias Musasa. We got Tanzilov. He is training out of Guram Fight Club. He's 26 years old, 5'11", 5'11", with a 70-inch reach. He is 9-0 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. No really notable wins or losses for Tanzilov. He has a 78% finish rate. All those come by knockout. 0 submissions on the record. Some notes I have on Tanzilov: he comes forward. He can be a little bit low volume, but he's very quick. That's what I noticed. He's very quick. He has really good movement, and he uses that movement quite a bit. And it could make for like a kind of a boring fight, but at least he's not going out there and getting hit. And I think that movement can come into play here. He has solid kicks as well, but the lack of volume is very concerning to me. But yeah, he's very fast. I think he's going to have the speed advantage here. But that speed that he does use, it can make for some lackluster fights, which he kind of has had. I mean, some of his fights aren't the most exciting fights to watch. What I will say though is when he does let his hands go, he is looking to take off his opponent's head, and he does have some solid power. So he has defensive. The defensive wrestling is pretty solid. Have seen him taken down here or there, but he's not going to have to worry about that here whatsoever. Decent wrestling in his own right, relentless wrestling when he goes after it, and the control on top seems pretty solid, but he's more content to just control his opponent. Doesn't really do much on the mat. Doesn't really look to have the best cardio, but he's one of those guys where he looks like physically exhausted, like very fatigued, but he's able to kind of push through it, and he can go a full 15 minutes, and I've seen him actually win third round. So I'm not too worried about the cardio, although I don't think it's the best cardio in the world. I would like to see him a lot more active in there. He doesn't do a ton, and he's still looking kind of exhausted in there. I'll be honest, I wasn't that impressed with Tanzilov really at all, but we'll see. This guy, I think he's super tough. He's been 3 rounds. There's some things to like about him. I think he's well-rounded, but he didn't really blow me away. As far as Josias Musasa, he's training out of Elite Training Center. He's 25 years old, 5'8", with a 70-inch reach, 7-0, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Musasa. Very, poor level of competition. Musasa has a 100% finish rate. All those come by knockout. So, some notes I have around Musasa. First and foremost, I love the nickname. The nickname is the KO Wizard, and he backs it up, finishing all of his wins by knockout. If you're going to nickname yourself the KO Wizard, you better be winning every single fight by knockout, and he has. He's looking to go in there and get into a slugfest, and he brings a very kill or be killed style. He unloads the clip very early. There can be moments of inactivity like, especially as the fight goes on, there can be like serious moments of inactivity where just nothing's really going on. But when he does let his hands go, he's very dangerous. He's very aggressive. When he backs you up to the cage, he'll just let off on like a 50 punch combination and get you out of there. Everything he throws is with fight ending intentions, and he's knocking fools out, and he's knocking them out cold. He looks very dangerous, obviously, and I think he's exciting, but I'm not sure he's the better overall fighter here. His ground game is a complete unknown and completely untested, as is his cardio. He's only been out of the first round, I believe, once. And I did watch that fight, and he did look to be slowing down quite a bit. It was kind of a very, hectic first round type of fight, but once that second round hit, we saw, more and more inactivity out of Musasa. He was able to eventually get the finish, but, there wasn't really a ton going on in that second round. The volume really tapered off, and that's kind of to be expected with the way this guy fights, with that kill or be killed style, kind of like a one round type style he brings to the table. So I really wanted to be more impressed with Musasa, because I'm not really impressed with either of these guys. But final thoughts is I just feel like this is a fight that, Tanzilov should win as long as he can survive the early onslaught coming his way. Like, I feel like this first 60 seconds is probably going to dictate the fight. I feel like these guys are going to go out there, and Musasa especially is going to try to swing dicks, but it's going to be up to, Tanzilov to not swing dicks. But yeah, like I said, I wasn't really impressed with either guy, but Tanzilov has fought the much better competition. He's shown the ability to go to 3 rounds, and he's also shown the ability to mix in the wrestling. He's just shown the ability to be the much more well-rounded fighter. As long as he fights smart and doesn't swing dicks with Musasa in the first round, I think he can take over as the fight goes on, mix in takedowns here or there, get on top, get him tired, break him, and finish him, via TKO in the third round. But yeah, I think the first 60 seconds is going to dictate where this fight goes. But I'm going with Tanzilov. I think he's going to be tough enough and quick enough, hopefully avoid some of these big bombs coming his way. And if he could do so, if he can drag this fight out to the first couple minutes of the fight, second round especially, I feel like it's a fight that he should go out there and win. But yeah, give me Tanzilov, and I'll take him to win by third round knockout. Moving on to the next fight, it is Yousri Belgaroui versus Taiga Iwasaki. We got Belgaroui. He is training out of Teixeira MMA and Fitness. He's 32 years old, 6'5" with a 79-inch reach, 7-3 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Notable wins or losses for Belgaroui. He went 1-2 against Alex Pereira in kickboxing, so he does have a win against Alex Pereira in kickboxing. And then he also went 0-2 against Israel Adesanya in kickboxing. And then in terms of MMA, he lost to Marco Tulio last year on the Contender Series. We just saw Marco Tulio either last week or the week before get a win on the Contender Series, so that's not a bad loss to have at all. Marco Tulio, shoot to box, Diego Lima guy, not a bad loss. And he had some solid moments in that fight as well. So Belgaroui has a 71% finish rate. All those come by knockout, 0 submissions on his record. Belgaroui trains at a great gym with some killers. Kickboxing background for Belgaroui. He went 27-7 in kickboxing with 12 KOs. This guy's just massive for the division. I saw a pic of him with Alex Pereira, and he looked bigger than Alex Pereira. He has very heavy leg kicks. He's great at range, and he's very long. He's going to have a massive reach advantage here as well. In this fight, which is to be expected, guys are looking to take him down nonstop. You watch really any fight of Belgaroui, guys are looking to take him down, including in his fight against Tulio. Tulio looked to take him down 8 times. And like I said, rightfully so. You don't want to go out there and really strike with this guy. We know he's working on the ground game, training with guys like Teixeira, all those guys. But he does his best work on the feet. I like the pressure. He's looking for the knockout, has a ton of power. He attacks the body very well. He's folded multiple guys with big shots to the body. And when he smells blood, he swarms and tries to get guys out of there. The takedown defense doesn't look bad at all. He looks very hard to take down. Tulio, like I said, tried to take him down 8 times. He went only 2 for 8. Takedown defense looked good there, and it's looked good in other fights as well. He was controlled for over 6 minutes in that fight against Tulio, but he was able to hang in there in the distance striking, which was somewhat impressive. So yeah, overall, I think this name gets me every time. Belgaroui is not a bad fighter at all. As far as Taiga Iwasaki, he's 27 years old, 6'1" with a 73-inch reach, 9-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Notable wins or losses. The only loss comes against undefeated Rafael Lovato Jr. by submission in 2022. Not a bad loss whatsoever. Iwasaki has a 66% finish rate, 44% by knockout, 22% by submission. So notes I have on Iwasaki, he has some of the most trash competition in his wins, but like I said, he did lose to a good undefeated fighter. He's very hittable, leaves his chin way up in the air, doesn't really move his head at all. He'll do a lot of clinching, and I think we might see some of that here in this fight. I think he's going to at least try to do some clinching here, try to get the fight down to the mat, and yeah, he's going to look to get the fight down to the mat in this fight especially, but he has in other fights as well. And I was actually somewhat impressed with his ground game. You know, submissions, has a couple, and the ground and pound solid. The control's okay, but he can get a little bit overzealous, you know, submission over position type guy and lose position, end up on bottom and all that good stuff. He was submitted in his only loss, but that's something he's really not going to have to worry about that here. I don't see Belgaroui going out there and submitting this guy. I expect him to be looking to get this fight down to the mat, and if he doesn't, he's probably getting knocked out. Final thoughts on this matchup. I think it's a solid spot here for Belgaroui. I expect Iwasaki to try to take him down, but I think he has the takedown defense to keep it upright. When this fight's at range, I think Belgaroui is going to have many opportunities to find a knockout here against a very hittable Iwasaki. As long as he keeps it standing, I expect him to make this look pretty easy. Give me Belgaroui to win this fight, and I think he finds a knockout in the very first round. And I think these odds are wrong. I think Belgaroui is a much bigger favorite than this. So let me check here. Belgaroui, I could have swore I just saw him at minus... Yeah, so he's minus 650. Belgaroui's minus 650 there. So, yeah, big favorite, biggest favorite on the card. All right, let's move on to this next fight. We have Kody Steele going against Quemuel Ottoni. We got Kody Steele. He's training out of Checkmat BJJ, 29 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach, 6-0, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Notable wins or losses. He's fought some decent competition overall and has a few grappling matches versus some UFC fighters, including guys like Phil Rowe, Gregory Rodriguez, and some really other, really solid grapplers. Just a ton of, take a look at his Tapology, just a ton of grappling matches there. Steele has a 67% finish rate, 50% by knockout, 17% by submission. Some notes I have on Steele, this guy's primarily known as a grappler, but his striking's just looking better than ever. I think he's making a ton of improvements in the striking. He's going out there and he's knocking fools out. He has very fast hands, has an incredible jab, constant pressure and aggression, packs a ton of power in his hands. Steele has a great chin and he's willing to eat one to give one, which don't know if I'd love him to really do that here, but he has shown a great chin nonetheless. Saw him land a really nasty knee against some dude and just put him out cold. The strikings came a long way with this guy. And yeah, this guy's striking a lot more than he has in the past, and rightfully so. It's looking good. So in terms of the grappling, that's his bread and butter. Good entries on his takedowns, very physically strong as well. I've seen him pick guys up and slam them. Looks to get to the back of his opponents. The grappling's very slick once he gets you down, and he does a really good job at keeping you on the mat. Has very good control in the cage as well. He'll stick to his opponents like glue. Just really impressive control, against the cage, on the mat, and he's very dangerous and really wherever the fight goes, whether he's on your back, whether he's on top. Even at range, at distance, he's very dangerous. And that's makes for a very tough fighter to deal with because he can really beat you anywhere. The striking, like I said, is very good, very improved, and I think we're going to keep seeing improvements with that striking. And he's always had the ground game to go with him, but now that he has a striking, I think it's just going to be a problem for a lot of guys. Just hard to find really many areas where Steele's going to struggle, I think. As far as Ottoni, he's training out of Familia Kamado. He is 31 years old, 6 foot with a 72-inch reach, 12-3, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Notable wins or losses, the big one, and this is, I'm sure, the one that everybody's going to be talking about this week, and it is Alex Pereira. He beat Alex Pereira by submission in the 3rd round in 2015. 9 years ago, but he did beat Alex Pereira, gave Alex Pereira his first loss. Alex Pereira started out 0-1 in MMA, and he lost to this dude. He also lost to Josias Dos Santos by decision. Dos Santos fought against Anton Turkalj on the Dana White's Contender Series. It's just, funny to me how, in I think the same year, he beat Alex Pereira, but lost to this Josias Dos Santos dude, which is just not good at all. So that's kind of funny to me, but it happened. Ottoni has a 92% finish rate, 67% by knockout, 25% by submission. Some notes I have on him: he has some solid experience, and his level of competition isn't too bad. He has 2 submission losses, though, which is something to be wary of here in this matchup. He's very exciting. He starts fast. He has no regard for his own safety, and he's looking to get his opponent out of there. He swings with very bad intentions. He has power, and he's wild, and that's what makes him dangerous on the feet. He's very wild, very aggressive. He's best known for beating Alex Pereira, but that was the debut of Alex Pereira, and that was back in 2015, like I said, 9 years ago, so I don't really think we can really take much from that fight, and if they were obviously to rematch, we know what would happen. The ground game is in question for sure. He's been submitted twice by submission, and I wasn't able to watch that Osseos dos Santos fight, and it was a long time ago, so who really cares, but I'd imagine Osseos dos Santos was taking him down and controlling him. But yeah, that submission defense might concern me here against the caliber grappler and Cody Steele. Some final thoughts on this matchup for me. I think this is my favorite fight on the entire card. Both these guys are looking to take off each other's head when this is on the feet, but I have to go with Steele here. I think Steele has more ways to win this fight. My concern is he may have fallen in love with his hands a little bit too much, and if that's the case here, it could get sketchy, very sketchy very quickly, but if he comes out here, gets the fight down to the mat, he might have a big advantage on the ground here and can win both minutes with that control and then also potentially get a sub. I'm going to take Steele here to win this fight by second round submission, but I feel like Ottoni's probably one of the more popular underdogs on the entire card, considering he does have that win over Alex Pereira. But again, it's just, I don't know what we could take from that other than it was like 9 years ago. But give me Steele by second round sub. Moving on to the main event, we have Navajo Stirling going against Phillip Latu. We have Stirling. He's training out of City Kickboxing. He's 26 years old, 5'11", with a 79-inch reach, 4-0. 4-0 in his only 4 fights. No notable wins or losses for Stirling. He has a 75% finish rate, and 3 of those come by knockout. Some notes I have here on Stirling: he's massive, very long and rangy, trains at a great gym in City Kickboxing, has a kickboxing background, obviously, has a solid jab and uses his length really well for the most part. Sometimes he does a really good job just using that range, using that jab. Other times can kind of be backed up a little bit, but when he does use that range and pressure as well, the pressure is pretty solid from him. Good kicks to the legs and to the body. Doesn't have the best striking defense. Kind of has that tall man's defense. And like I said, he can get pressured and he can get backed up, and that's where he really doesn't look all too comfortable. I have seen him drop before, but he was able to recover pretty quickly. And yeah, when he's coming forward, he looks pretty good. He can get a little bit wild in there. He can exchange recklessly in the pocket, but he is willing to stand in there in the pocket and trade with his opponents. The cardio looks good, seems to be making massive improvements, and that's to be expected. This guy's only 26 years old, training with a bunch of great guys at City Kickboxing. You're going to only expect him to get better and better. The ground game's unproven and untested, but that's something I'm sure they're working on every day at City Kickboxing, and that's something that I don't really think comes into play here. I think it's a striker versus striker matchup here in this one. As far as Latu, he's training out of Elevation Fight Team, another great gym. He's 33 years old, 6'3", with a 79-inch reach, 6-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Notable wins or losses: he beat Dylan Potter by second-round knockout. Potter also fought on the Contender Series back in 2021 against, I believe it was Lucas Bresky. So Latu has a 100% finish rate. All those come by knockout. Some notes I have on Latu: trains at a really good gym in his own right. With Team Elevation, has a kickboxing background too. His only loss comes by submission, but that's not something he's going to have to worry about here. He's very aggressive. I think in terms of aggressiveness, he's the much more aggressive fighter in this matchup. He throws with very bad intentions, has hard kicks to the body. Everything he throws with is with 110% power. He can be a little bit inactive at times, but when he lands, it is very explosive. Has a nice head kick, a nice step-in knee that he throws as well. I like the forward pressure that he brings to the table, and I think that forward pressure is going to be key in this one. Solid striking defense as well. I think in terms of striking defense, what I've seen, I think he has the better striking defense in this matchup. Quick hands, good combinations, and the dude just possesses a ton of power. I did see him absolutely destroy somebody with a step-in knee. It was brutal. Just very impressed with what I saw from Latu here. I think the aggressiveness and the power is going to win him a lot of fights. The ground game would be the worry for sure, but I don't think he's going to have to worry about here in this matchup, but it is something we'll probably have to worry about going forward if he's able to get this win and make it into the UFC. Final thoughts on this matchup: the interesting thing about this fight and why I think the matchmakers did a really good job here is both these fighters are going to get the fight that they want, and that's going to be fight that takes place on the feet. I was not able to find a ton of tape on Stirling, which is, always kind of annoying, but from what I did see, I wasn't that impressed. With that said, though, he's training at a great gym in City Kickboxing. He's only 26 years old. I think we're going to see a ton of improvements from him. I think we're going to see the best version of him. But yeah, Latu looked pretty good to me. I liked his forward pressure. I liked the aggressiveness of Latu. He also has a ton of power in both his hands and with his kicks and his knees. I'm going to take Latu here. I'm going to take him to pressure and land a big shot. I think it probably comes early as well. So this shouldn't be an absolute banger. I think we're going to learn a lot about Stirling. We're going to see those improvements that he has made, because like I said, there wasn't a ton of footage available on him, but I was more impressed with what I saw from Latu. So I'll take Latu to win this fight. I'll say he lands a big shot in the first round. There you guys have it. Thank you so much for watching the video. Let me know down in the comments what you guys have. Do me a favor, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and then also be on the lookout for UFC 306 content. We have a big card coming out this week. And yeah, best of luck, guys, for Dana White's Contender Series week number 5. Enjoy the card. See you.